What's up, guys? This is Cody back with my long-awaited top 5 sneakers of 2020. It's a bit late, I know. One of the sneakers on the list released in the last week of December and then took a while to deliver. As usual, my list only features shoes that released this year that I was able to get my hands on. And it does feature some obscure picks that you're not going to find on most people's top sneaker lists. So remember, all of these picks are only my opinion, and none of these lists really matter. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. This year I'm adding a new segment to the video, and that is my biggest disappointments of the year. These are shoes that I was looking forward to, or the industry as a whole was looking forward to, but in my opinion, they came up short of expectations. And the first one is the Adidas Yeezy Quantum. The Yeezy Quantum, one of my biggest disappointments of the year. To keep it brief, essentially this was a silhouette that was teased for 3 years leading up to its debut in 2020. And when it did debut, it only released in Chicago. And then it didn't see a full release for another 4 months. The silhouette is fine, it's a unique design, but on feet it feels clunky and stiff. As a shoe that is essentially the first high-top Adidas Yeezy since the 750, I think the Quantum fell short of expectations, especially after the initial release left people uninterested before they even had a chance to buy it. So, the Adidas Yeezy Quantum, a 2020 disappointment. Another one of my disappointments this year, and remember this is just my opinion, is the Union Los Angeles Air Jordan 4. The Union Jordan 1 was one of my favorite shoes of 2018. I think it was number 2 on my list that year. So when Union confirmed the rumored follow-up to their Jordan 1 would be on a Jordan 4, I, like most people, was interested to see what they could do. And ultimately they delivered a Jordan 4 that they just modified to be more like a Jordan 1. And these days we don't really need more Jordan 1s. Most notably, they changed the toe box design, which left the eyelet wing just kind of stranded in the middle of the forefoot, and then they made it red to draw attention to it. The 2 colorways they released were just altered takes on their Jordan 1 colorways, instead of making something new using the history of the Jordan 4. And they didn't bother to do anything unique with the Jordan 4 midsole, they just made the whole thing yellow. I still like the story behind the shoe with the folded tongue that you can unstitch, but this is nowhere near as well executed as the Union Jordan 1. So, the Union Jordan 4, a 2020 disappointment, my opinion. Now, from a few disappointments, we move on to an honorable mention. This technically isn't a sneaker, so I felt like it shouldn't be included in the list, but I have to give a shout out to my good friend Avery Ginsberg and his ground cover 8-eye boot. If you followed Avery's career over the years from his YouTube channel to his brand Ground Cover, you know that sustainability is at the forefront of everything he does these days, and that certainly applies to these boots. It's made using waste from commercial pineapple farming, which is then crafted into this textile that's used as an alternative to leather. I'm not much of a boot guy, but to watch Avery's process from concept to sampling to production to release, it certainly deserves an honorable mention. If you want to know more about Avery's brand Ground Cover and his upcoming products, there will be a link in the description. All right, let's get into the list. To be honest, I didn't buy that many pairs of sneakers in 2020. I think it's been fewer than 10. So number 5 on my list isn't a shoe that I plan on wearing much, but it's a shoe I appreciate nonetheless. And I sold a bunch of these on Adidas alerts, so anyways, my number 5 sneaker of 2020 is the Adidas Ultra 4D. The Ultra 4D is an example of Adidas listening to the requests of the consumer. When 4D cushioning debuted on a production level in 2018, it was paired with the Alpha Edge upper and a stiff retail price of $300. Now that shoe initially sold well, as 4D was brand new to the market, but the most popular request that I saw in response to the Alpha Edge was just put a 4D sole on an Ultra Boost upper. And that's exactly what they did, although it took them a little bit too long to get it to market. Adidas debuted the Ultra 4D in August of 2020 with this, the OG colorway, pairing an Ultra Boost 1.0 upper with a 4D sole. They would go on to release additional colorways and even a few collaborations, which you can learn more about in my on-feet video of the chalk white colorway. But ultimately, the Ultra 4D serves as a great example of Adidas listening to the consumer, and I look forward to seeing Adidas repeat this in the future as the Ultra Boost line expands. So, Ultra 4D. Number 4 on my list is a shoe I didn't even expect to get. It released through an online raffle, and these days I don't put any faith in raffles. So I was surprised to see that I won, and I was even more surprised with how much I enjoyed the shoe. My number 4 sneaker of 2020 is the is the aime Leon Dore New Balance 550. I'm just going to call it ALD for the rest of the video. New Balance retro basketball silhouettes have always been overlooked. I remember being interested in James Worthy's New Balance 740 silhouette when it was reissued in 2014. I tried on that shoe more than a few times when I worked at a shoe store back then, but I never ended up buying it. However, since then, New Balance is kind of only focused on their retro running catalog. That is, until this collaboration with ALD. Now, ALD had several New Balance collaborations recently, a pair of 990s last year, and a trio of 827s earlier this year. Now, those were decent, but to me, they just looked like generic New Balance. But their 550 collaboration was something fresh and new from New Balance. The 550 was originally a late 80s basketball silhouette, and with the popularity of other brands' 80s basketball silhouettes in 2020, the 550 fit right in. The 550 is also a low top, making it much more wearable than those high top 740s 6 years ago. And ALD delivered 4 similar but slightly different colorways that made it okay to get just one, you didn't need all of them. It's a simple silhouette with great shape that I think looks great on feet, and it was one of my most worn shoes this fall after it released in October. So the ALD New Balance 550, my number 4 sneaker of 2020. Number 3 on my list is the reason this video is so late. It released in the last week or last 9 days of 2020. And it's a shoe that I've been vaguely interested in throughout the year, as it first released through several very limited collaborations, and then finally in original form. My number 3 sneaker of 2020 is the Adidas Forum 84 High OG. Like the New Balance 550, the Adidas Forum is another 80s basketball silhouette, and the Forum itself has a rich history which you can learn about in my On Feet video. But in a year that was deemed the year of the dunk, I personally wanted to explore some other basketball silhouettes from that era. Now, those early Forum collaborations showed a reworked silhouette with great shape and high-quality materials. But I wasn't fully interested in any of those collabs, and they would have been really hard to get. Each one was limited to only a couple hundred pairs. But I was interested in the OG colorway, a simple mix of white and blue, kind of classic Adidas. And Adidas did a phenomenal job on this release. Search around YouTube and you'll find similar opinions from people that have these in hand. They are extremely nice, especially priced at only $120, when in comparison, a Jordan 1 today is $170. And if you don't like the high top, a low top version is releasing next week, so follow my Adidas account at Adidas Alerts for release updates. Number 3. Number 2 on my list is by far the most obscure pick. I think it's safe to say I'm the only one to consider this a top sneaker of the year, but it was by far my most worn shoe of 2020. So my number 2 sneaker of 2020 is the Nike ACG Zoom Terra Zahara. In a year where we all faced a pandemic that kept us isolated, I started going on hikes and more regular walks around my neighborhood. But even though I have plenty of shoes, I didn't really have anything purpose-built for outdoor use. The Zoom Terra Zahara was on sale on Nike.com in early 2020, and I grabbed a pair for about 50% off the retail price of $180. Later in the year, they were available for as low as $60. The Zoom Terra Zahara features a full React cushioned midsole paired with a Zoom bag in the heel, so they're super comfortable. And that's paired with a water-resistant nylon upper with a neoprene inner booty. So it's good for the outdoors and it holds your foot in place. I see it as kind of a modern-day ACG Moab, which is another one of my favorite shoes, but it has a similar design but significantly upgraded cushioning and materials. After breaking them in, they quickly became my go-to shoe for doing basically anything throughout the year, and they're great for hiking. I really cannot recommend this shoe enough, especially with how much they were discounted throughout the year. So my number 2, the Nike ACG Zoom Terra Zahara. If you followed this channel over the years, you might have noticed one shoe that I buy almost every iteration of, and it returned in a big way this year. This is the best iteration of this shoe since it originally released 30 years ago, and I think this is one of Nike's best retro releases of all time. So my number 1 sneaker of 2020 is the Nike Air Max 3. In December of 2019, Nike debuted the reworked version of the Air Max 90 to celebrate the silhouette's 30th anniversary with the clean slate colorway. And that release showed a fully recrafted silhouette with an aggressive toe box shape and original details like the stitching running through the swoosh. And it was all but guaranteed that Nike would release the infrared colorway on this new Air Max 90. But we had to wait 10 months for the first original colorway to release, and that was the Laser Blues in October of 2020. With the Laser Blues, Nike brought back the original name, the Air Max 3, the original box, and even the original cushioning with an airbag encapsulated under the forefoot. And then finally, 1 month later, the infrared colorway arrived on the Air Max 3 in November of 2020. I can make an entire video on the details of this shoe, but it's really cool to see Nike put this much attention to detail into the Air Max 90 this year, instead of just pushing out another run of infrareds. The infrared Air Max 90 is probably my favorite shoe of all time, and Nike knocked this one out of the park, so my #1 sneaker of 2020. So that was my top 5 sneakers of 2020. That was a long one, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, scroll down and hit that like button. That helps recommend this video to new viewers. And if you want to see more content like this and you haven't already, go hit that subscribe button. In the comments below, let me know what you thought on all of my selections, and feel free to roast me. And let me know what your #1 sneaker of 2020 was. I'm interested to see what your favorites were. In between videos, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, and now TikTok at Cody Templet. And for updates on all of 2021's releases, you can follow my sneaker accounts at 712co, at Adidas Alerts, and at Swoosh Supply. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Now go down to the comments and put LOL and then whatever selection you disagree with the most. Until next year's list, this has been Cody and my top 5 sneakers of 2020. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching.